resolutions that, just kind of fizzle out by February. Yeah, you are not alone. In this explainer, we're going to unpack a really powerful evidence-based playbook that will help you absolutely crush your goals in 2026. Let's get right into it. So let's just start with the big question, right? Why is it so incredibly hard to stick with what we set out to do? I mean, we all start with these amazing intentions, but somewhere along the way, we just lose steam. It's a super common frustration, but believe it or not, it's a problem with a very clear solution. What's really fascinating is how simple the problem actually is when you boil it down. According to productivity expert Ali Abdaal, failure pretty much always comes down to one of two things. It's either a knowledge gap or an execution gap. So either our plan is wrong or we just don't follow the plan we have. The system we're talking about today, well, it solves for both. And here it is. We're calling it the GPS framework. And honestly, you should think of it just like the GPS in your car. I mean, to get anywhere, you need three things, right? You need a destination, you need a route to get there, and then you actually have to start driving. This framework applies that exact same logic to any goal you can possibly imagine. Okay, first up, G is for goal. This is your destination. Look, a vague wish like, I want to get healthy, is basically useless. A great goal is specific, and ideally it has a number attached to it. You also have to lock in your why, that deep emotional reason that's going to fuel you when things get tough. And here's a little pro tip for you. Define your anti-goals. What will you absolutely refuse to sacrifice to get there? Maybe it's burnout. Maybe it's precious time with your family. This protects what truly matters. All right, let's talk P for plan, your route map. Now, this is not some 100-step overwhelming to-do list. No. It's all about identifying the 3 to 5 big, game-changing moves that'll actually get you to your goal. Then, you gotta give yourself a reality check. Is this plan actually doable? And finally, you have to predict the obstacles. Be honest. What's likely to trip you up along the way? And finally, we have S for system. This is the daily driving that makes everything happen. So if the goal is the destination and the plan is the map, the system is the engine of your car. It's all about how you're going to track your progress, how you'll remind yourself to stick with it, and how you'll build an accountability to keep you going even when your motivation takes a nosedive. So there you have it. It's just a simple 3-step loop. A clear goal, a realistic plan, and a solid system. Goal, plan, system. That's the whole framework. Okay, enough theory, right? Let's put this thing to the test with a real-world example. Let's apply this to a goal that I know a lot of us have, getting our finances in shape. And for this, we're going to use some absolutely fantastic tips from financial educator Nisha to build out our financial GPS for the new year. See how this works? This is so much better than a vague wish like, save more money. It is a specific, measurable goal. It's got a number, $6,000, and it's got a deadline, December 2026. You can do the math right away. That breaks down to exactly $500 a month. Instantly, you know exactly what you're aiming for. Now that is a powerful G. Okay, so for our P, our plan, we've got to figure out where that $500 a month is going to come from. Nisha suggests doing what she calls a money wrapped review. Yep, just like Spotify Wrapped, but for your spending. And here's the key trick. You list your savings goal as if it's a spending category. This little move forces you to see your true leftover cash, and that's where you find the untapped potential to hit your goal. And while you're doing your plan, you're probably going to find some real surprises. For instance, Nisha points to research showing that the average household in the US spends over $800 a year just on streaming services. Wild, right? Auditing all your little subscriptions and bills is a critical part of making a realistic financial plan. Now for the S, the system. This is what Nisha calls your money operating system. And the main goal here is to make good decisions completely automatic. Set up those automatic transfers to your savings account for the day you get paid, schedule your bill payments, and, this is so important, reduce the friction for your good habits while you increase it for your bad ones. This concept is just so powerful. As James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, says, the real secret is making the right choice the easy choice. Unsubscribe from all those tempting retail emails. Keep your emergency fund in a separate account that's just a little bit harder to get to. You want to make your environment work for you, not against you. So the GPS framework clearly works for concrete goals like money. But what about something a little more personal, maybe more ambitious? Let's try applying it to a creative project and just see how it holds up. Just look at the transformation here. Start a YouTube channel is, well, it's just a vague dream, isn't it? But the GPS version turns it into a real, actual project. The goal is specific. 10,000 subscribers in 1 year. The plan is totally focused, one high-quality video per week. And the system is what makes it all happen. Weekly analytics reviews, a strict content calendar, and maybe a creator group to keep you accountable. This is how you turn a fuzzy ambition into a crystal clear roadmap for success. So, we've broken down the framework, we've seen it in action for both our money and our personal ambitions. The logic is simple, it's powerful, and it's pretty much universally applicable. So now the focus really shifts over to you. Just remember these 3 steps. Think of it as your compass for the new year. For any major goal you have, first, define a specific goal. Then, create a realistic plan with just a few key moves. And finally, build a reliable system to make sure you actually follow through. And that brings us to the final, and honestly the most important question. Don't try to apply this to 10 different things at once. That's a recipe for disaster. Just pick one. What is the single most important goal you have for 2026? Really think about it, and then start building your GPS for it today.
You know that feeling you get right around the new year? That little spark of motivation that says, okay, this is the year I finally get my money sorted out. But then, just as fast as it appears, it kind of fizzles out, and you're left wondering, where do I even begin? It just feels so overwhelming, doesn't it? Well, what if I told you there's a simple, proven framework that works just like a GPS for your finances? Let's get into it.
Does this sound familiar? You set this big, ambitious money goal. You're all in for a week, maybe 2, and then, life happens. Next thing you know, it's February, and that resolution is just a distant memory. But here's the thing I really want you to hear. This is not a failure of your willpower. It's a failure of the system, or more likely, the fact that you don't have one in the first place.
And that's exactly where the GPS method comes in. It's a fantastic framework from author Ali Abdaal, and it's super simple. Goal, plan, and system. I mean, think about it like a real GPS in your car. A vague wish is like telling your GPS you want to go somewhere fun. You'll just end up driving in circles. This method, though, it gives you the destination, the turn-by-turn directions, and even helps you put the car on cruise control. So let's start with the G.
All right, first up, the G is for goal. This is your destination, and you have to define it with absolute crystal clarity. Because again, if you don't know exactly where you're going, you're never going to get there.
So check this out. On the left, you've got those vague wishes we all make, right? I want to be better with money. It sounds nice, but you can't really do anything with it. Now, look at the GPS goal on the right. It's specific, it's measurable, it has a deadline. I want to save $6,000 for a house deposit by December 2026. Boom. Now you know that's just $500 a month. But here's the really brilliant part. That last sentence, without working weekends. That's called an anti-goal. It's a boundary you set to protect your life while you're chasing the goal. It's not just about what you're gonna do, but what you're not gonna do to get there.
Okay, so you've locked in your destination. Awesome. Now we need the P, the plan. A destination is totally useless without a map, and your plan, well, that is your map. It's the actual route you're going to take to get from A to B.
And look, your plan doesn't have to be some crazy 100-step document. All you need are 3 to 5 big, major moves that are going to create the most impact. And the very first move, before you can plan where you're going, is to get a really, really clear picture of where you are right now.
And financial educator Nisha has this perfect way of thinking about it. You're doing a money rept. Just like Spotify shows you all your listening habits at the end of the year, you're going to do the exact same thing with your spending habits. And the key here is no judgment. Seriously, this isn't about feeling guilty. It's just about gathering the data so you can see the real story of where your money actually went.
So here's how you do it. You add up your total income, your fixed costs, rent, utilities, and all the fun stuff. But here is the absolute game changer, the secret sauce. You have to treat your savings and your investments as a non-negotiable expense. Pay it just like you pay your rent. Why? Because the money that's left over after you've paid for everything, including your future self, that is your true surplus. That number is pure untapped potential. It's the hidden money you can put to work this year.
Okay, your second major move in the plan is the yearly audit. First, the subscription call. You're going to go through every single recurring payment, streaming services, apps, that gym membership you swore you'd use, and be ruthless. If you're not using it, cancel it. Next, you tackle the big bills using the 1-year rule. This is so important. Every single year, you have to shop around for better deals on things like car insurance, your phone plan, and internet. Loyalty almost never pays these days, and a few minutes of searching can literally save you hundreds of dollars. So, you've got your goal, you've got your plan, but this last piece, the S for system, Honestly, this is the most powerful part of the whole thing. This is the engine that makes your plan run on its own, day after day, without you even having to think about it. And this slide says it all, doesn't it? Relying on willpower is like trying to push a giant boulder up a hill every single day. It's just exhausting, and eventually you're going to quit. But a good system? A good system is like a conveyor belt. It makes doing the right thing the default, the easy option. Your success no longer depends on how motivated you feel when you wake up in the morning.
So what does this system actually look like? Well, we call it your money operating system. Step 1 is to automate your transfers. Set up a standing order to move money to your savings and investment accounts the moment you get paid. This is paying yourself first on autopilot. Step 2, automate all your bill payments. No more late fees, ever. And step 3, automatically fund your sinking funds. Now, these are just little savings pots for expenses you know are coming. Things like holiday gifts, car repairs, or an annual vacation. This way, a big expense is never a surprise emergency.
The entire mindset here, as this quote says, is about reducing friction. There's this great story about a woman who's amazing at sending birthday cards. Her secret? She has a box of cards pre-sorted by month with stamps ready to go. The friction is basically zero. You want to apply that exact same logic to your money. Automating your savings makes doing the right thing the easiest possible choice.
So let's just quickly bring this all back together. The goal is your destination. The plan is your map, and the system is the automated engine that just drives you there, no hands required. It's a single, powerful loop that takes you from a vague wish to a predictable reality.
This slide really brings it all home. For your goal, you ask, what do I really want? And your action is to set a specific, numbered goal with a deadline. For your plan, you ask, what are my major moves? And you act by doing that money-wrapped review and your yearly audit. And finally, for your system, you ask, how do I make this automatic? And your action is to build that money operating system. See how it all connects? It's a complete engine for success that just powers itself.
Look, at the end of the day, getting your finances in order isn't really about spreadsheets or about depriving yourself. It's about designing a system that works quietly in the background to support the life you actually want to live. Your money is just a tool. The only question that's left is the one you see right here. What life are you going to build with it?
All right, let's talk about it. The biggest financial decision most of us are ever going to make: should you rent or should you buy? But what if everything we've been told is kinda wrong? What if the whole American dream of owning a home isn't the best way to build wealth? Let's dig in.
I mean, this quote from investor Cody Sanchez just hits you right between the eyes, doesn't it? What if homeownership wasn't a dream at all, but one of the most brilliant marketing campaigns in history? We're going to pull back the curtain on that idea.
So first up, we're going to put this dream under a microscope. Let's look at the cold, hard numbers. Because, feelings are one thing, but math doesn't lie.
Okay, let's get real specific. Financial expert Ramit Sethi points out this one condo in Palo Alto. To own it, your mortgage payment, and that's just the mortgage, is over $10,000 a month. Wow. But to rent the exact same place, $5,400. That's nearly half the cost, and we haven't even started talking about all the other hidden costs of owning yet. And this right here is a point you really gotta let sink in. Your rent payment, that's the most you're gonna pay for housing that month. It's the ceiling. But your mortgage payment? Oh, that's just the starting point. That's the floor. You've still got property taxes, insurance, repairs. You get the idea.
So if the numbers can look this lopsided, why do so many of us feel this intense pressure to buy? Well, it usually comes down to a few really powerful ideas that we've all just accepted as true. So let's debunk the 3 biggest myths of homeownership.
And here it is, the big one. Renting is just throwing money away. You've heard it, I've heard it, we've all heard it from our parents, our friends. It's treated like financial gospel. But is it really true?
Well, think about it like this. When you go out to a restaurant, are you throwing money away? No, of course not. You're paying for value. You get the food, the service, someone else does the cooking and the dishes. Rent is exactly the same. You're paying for a roof over your head, sure, but you're also paying for maintenance you don't have to deal with and the amazing flexibility to just pick up and move. You're paying for value. Okay, then we've got myth number 2. You're just paying your landlord's mortgage. You can just picture it, right? Your hard-earned money flowing directly into your landlord's pocket while they just kick back and get rich.
But the reality is, landlords aren't just printing money in a magical castle.
They're stuck with whatever the market price is, and they have their own mortgage, their own taxes, insurance, and repairs to pay for. I mean, just 1 month without a tenant can completely erase a whole year's worth of profit. They can only charge what the market says your place is worth.
Ah, equity, the magic word. This is the ultimate trump card, right? The idea that every mortgage payment is like depositing money into a savings account that you also happen to live in. But how fast does that savings account actually grow?
Just look at a typical mortgage journey. For the first 2 decades of a 30-year loan, the huge majority of your payment is going straight to the bank. It's pure interest. It actually takes 21 years before you finally cross that line, where more of your money is going to your own equity than to the lender. For 21 years, the bank is getting the better end of the deal.
Okay, so if the traditional path has all these cracks in it, what's the alternative? Let's take a look at how the really wealthy people build and hold their wealth. Because trust me, it's a completely different game.
This chart pretty much says it all. For most of us, our home is our single biggest asset. Our wealth is literally trapped inside the walls. But for the truly wealthy, we're talking people with a net worth over $10 million, their biggest asset is their private businesses. They own things that make money.
And that brings us to the most important word in this whole conversation, cash flow. This is the engine of wealth. It's not about having a bunch of theoretical value stuck in a house you can't easily sell. It's about owning things that actively put money into your bank account month after month after month.
So how do you actually start playing this new game? Let's get you equipped with the right tools and, more importantly, a new way of thinking about this stuff.
First, you have to be brutally honest about the real cost of owning a home. These are what I call the phantom costs, the ones that sneak up on you. You've got closing costs, property taxes that always seem to go up, insurance, and the big one, maintenance. Plan on spending 1 to 3% of your home's entire value on upkeep every single year.
Now check this out. Let's see what happens when you invest for cash flow instead. Cody Sanchez ran these numbers. Say you have 400 grand. You put it into a typical rental property. After all the costs, you might clear about $2,400 a year. Okay. Now, what if you put that same 400 grand into buying a boring small business, like a laundromat? Now, this isn't passive. It takes work and has its own risks, for sure. But the potential payoff? You could be netting $60,000.
Just let that sink in for a second. That's not double the money or triple. That's 25 times the return. The difference is absolutely staggering. One path builds slow, stagnant equity that's locked in a house. The other builds a machine that actively prints cash for you.
And you know, you don't always need a giant pile of cash or a bank loan to do this. There are creative strategies like seller financing, where the person selling the asset basically acts as your bank. This opens up a whole world of possibilities for buying assets, whether it's a business or a house, in a totally different way.
So, what does all this mean for you? Look, the goal here isn't to say that buying a home is always a terrible idea. It's about getting you off autopilot. It's about making a conscious choice based on your financial goals, not just chasing a dream someone else sold you.
This forces you to ask a really fundamental question. We're all taught to be terrified of the risk of starting a business or buying an asset that might fail. But what if the safe option, buying a house, is actually the riskiest move for your financial future?
Author Bill Perkins just nails it here. The biggest risk you can take isn't losing some money in an investment. It's looking back on your life and realizing you never took the calculated risks you needed to take to live the life you actually wanted.
So in the end, it really boils down to this one question. The traditional path of homeownership, that's a defensive strategy. It's playing not to lose. Building a portfolio of things that generate cash flow, that's playing to win. So the only question left is, which game are you going to play?
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tear down one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make, buying a home. See, for generations, there's been this one accepted playbook. But what if, and this is a big what if, in today's economy, that playbook is actually a trap? So let's just jump right in with a question I bet a lot of you are already thinking about. We've all heard it, right? That homeownership is the key to wealth. It's the finish line for being financially successful. But what if that's not the whole story? Not even close. Yeah, the sources we're digging into today suggest the whole foundation of this dream might be, well, a little shaky. This quote from Cody Sanchez, it just nails it. What if the whole thing was a giant marketing campaign, cooked up by banks, pushed by politicians, all to create a steady stream of customers, right? All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to tear down the old myths.
Then we'll build 2 brand new playbooks for actually creating wealth. And hey, if you still want to buy, we'll cover a much smarter way to do it.
Okay, first things first, we've got to talk about the story. You know, that powerful cultural narrative we've all been fed about owning a home. Because believe me, it influences us way more than we think. For what feels like forever, this was the go-to advice, right? Get a good job, save up, buy a house, boom. But let's be real, with wages not really moving and home prices going through the roof, that old playbook, it's not just outdated, it can be straight up dangerous for your finances. And this whole playbook is fueled by these myths we hear all the time, like renting is just throwing money away. It's so ingrained in our thinking that, and this is wild, our sources say less than 5% of people actually do the math before making the single biggest purchase of their lives. It's all based on a feeling, not the actual numbers. So, okay, enough with the feelings, let's get into the hard numbers. This next section is all about the true cost of owning a home. And spoiler alert, this is where that old, simple math really starts to unravel.
Okay, check this out. This is pure data. One of our sources crunched the numbers, and over the last 2 decades, if you'd put your money in the stock market instead of a house, your return would have been more than 3 times higher. Think about that. And I love this line from Ramit Sethi. It just perfectly sums it all up. Rent is the maximum you will pay. A mortgage is the minimum. Your rent, that's the most you'll spend on housing that month. Your mortgage? Oh, that's just the starting line.
And here's exactly why that's true. The total cost of owning a home is so much more than what you see on Zillow. You've got property taxes, which, by the way, can go up. You've got insurance, you've got closing costs. And then there's the real kicker that everyone forgets: maintenance. We're talking 1 to 3% of the house's value every single year.
Okay, so if the old playbook is busted, what do we do instead? Let's look at the first new strategy. Playbook number 1, rent and invest. So let's make this real. Here is an example from one of our sources in Palo Alto, California. To buy this one condo, the mortgage is around $10,600 a month. To rent the very same place, $5,400. It's almost half. And that's before you even think about all those hidden phantom costs we just covered. But here's the real mind blower. It's not just about saving a few $1,000s a month. The source ran the numbers. If you take that down payment you didn't spend, plus the monthly savings, and just put it all into a simple S&P 500 index fund, you could be looking at over $1.1 million in just 8 years. That is the insane power of opportunity cost and compound interest.
All right, let's switch gears to a totally different strategy. This one is all about doing what wealthy people actually do with their money. See, they don't just buy liabilities that cost them money every month. They buy assets that make them money.
And this is the heart of Cody Sanchez's whole argument. Let's say you have $400,000. Option A, buy a rental property, deal with tenants, and maybe make a 0.6% return. Option B, buy a, quote, boring small business, like a laundromat or a pool cleaning service that could spit out a 15% return. I mean, the math isn't even close, right? In this example, the business gives you a potential return that's 25 times higher. You're going from this idea of slow, maybe it'll grow equity, to actual cash in your pocket every single month. And this quote just puts it all into perspective. It completely flips the script. You don't need a house. You need a profit machine that buys your house. The whole point isn't to work your life away to pay for a mortgage. The point is to own things that work for you and pay for your whole life, house included.
Okay, look, let's be clear. Buying a house isn't just a math problem. There are amazing non-financial reasons. You know, stability for your family, being part of a community, painting the walls whatever color you want. So if you run the numbers, you've looked at the other playbooks, and you still decide buying is for you, awesome. But let's make sure you do it like a pro, not just an emotional buyer.
So here's a really cool creative strategy: seller financing. Basically, you cut the bank out of the picture entirely. The person selling you the house becomes your bank. This can be a huge win-win. You get the house, and the seller gets a steady stream of income every month, which can be great for their taxes. It's all about finding a motivated seller and making a deal that works for both of you. And before you even think about making an offer, you got to pass these 2 financial stress tests. They're non-negotiable. First is the 28-36 rule. Your housing costs need to be less than 28% of your pre-tax income. And your total debt, we're talking car loans, student loans, everything, has to be under 36%. Second is the 20% rule. You got to be able to put 20% down. Why? because it proves you have the habit of saving before you're on the hook for a massive mortgage. Look, the big takeaway from all of this is pretty simple. Your financial life isn't some script that's already been written for you. This quote says it all. You weren't born to be a mortgage payment. You have way more options than you've been told. You're the one in the driver's seat. So at the end of the day, this isn't about me telling you to rent or to buy. Not at all. The whole point is to give you the tools to stop playing by someone else's rules. It's about giving you the frameworks to run your own numbers, to question the old advice, and to start building a financial future that's truly yours. So the only question left is, which playbook are you going to choose? Can you really build a $10,000 a month cleaning business in just a couple of months? You know, the answer is yes, a resounding yes, but only if you stop waiting for that perfect time to start. Okay, let's dive into this and break down the exact path from zero to a real profitable business. But before we get into the nuts and bolts, let's start with a kind of a tough question. Just think back for a second. A year ago, maybe even just a few months ago. If you had actually started then, where would you be right now? That feeling of what if? That's exactly what we're going to crush today, starting with the single biggest thing that holds almost everyone back. And that thing, that obstacle, it has a name. It's called the pre-client trap. It's the reason so many great business ideas, well, they just never happen. And it's not a lack of money, it's not a lack of time, it's purely a mental roadblock. So what exactly is this trap? Well, it's that little voice in your head. You know the one that's telling you to wait. Wait until you're more prepared, or you have more money, or you're just more ready. It's the paralysis of overplanning, where you get so lost in the tiny details that you never actually take that first crucial step. But here's the secret about that fear, that little voice. It doesn't pop up when you're just sitting on the couch scrolling through your phone. No, it appears right at the moment you're about to do something that could actually change your life. So that fear, it's not a stop sign. It's a green light. It's a signal that you are absolutely on the right track. This slide just lays it out so perfectly. It's like there are two different worlds you can live in. In that pre-client world, you're all tangled up in what-ifs. You're worrying about logos and business cards and all this other noise, while you're just stuck in a loop of doubt. But the moment you get that first client, boom, you cross over into the post-client world. And suddenly, you have proof, you have momentum, you have cash flow, you have a real business. So, how do you make that jump? How do you get from one world to the other? It is so much simpler than you think. The entire goal right now is to just break through all that noise and land one single paying client. Let's break down the super simple plan to get you there. Here it is. This is your mission for this week. It's just 3 steps. First, make a list of 20 businesses in your area. Second, actually contact them. Walk in, call them, send an email. And third, just offer a free, totally no pressure quote. That's it. The goal isn't perfection. We're not trying to be flawless here. We're just looking for one yes. And this is the magic moment. The instant, the very second that one person says yes, the entire game changes. You're no longer just thinking about starting a business. You are a business owner. You know, that first client is so much more than just your first paycheck. They are your ultimate marketing tool. Think about it. Now, when you approach the next business, you're not just some random person with an idea. No, you're the person who cleans for their competitor right down the street. That is instant credibility. Okay, so you did it. You landed that first client. You've got proof. You've got momentum. Now what? Where do you go from here? Let's pull up the growth cheat sheet. 4 key markets that you can strategically dominate to scale this thing up and fast. You know, most people get stuck in the residential cleaning box. But just look at this. There are 4 completely different markets to play in. Yeah, residential is great for quick cash, but commercial, that gives you those stable, long-term contracts. Short-term rentals can mean high volume. And construction cleanup, we're talking high-ticket one-off jobs. The key is you don't have to pick just one. A really powerful business can be built by mixing and matching these. So where are all these clients hiding? Well, the options are pretty much endless. You can run paid ads on Google, you can post in local Facebook groups, you can do some good old-fashioned cold outreach, partner with realtors, or you can build a strong referral network. The point is, these are all proven channels, just ready and waiting to bring you leads. Now let's talk about the fun part. Let's talk about turning this initial success into a real cash machine. This is where we go from just a side hustle to building a predictable, recurring stream of revenue that works for you day in and day out. And here is a major perspective shift for you. To hit $10,000 a month, you don't need 100 different residential clients. You just need 2 or 3 high-quality commercial contracts. Seriously, that big goal is so much more achievable than you might think. Let's just break the math down. Imagine you land just one good commercial client. Let's say it's a local law office. They agree to a contract for $3,000 a month. That's from just one single yes. But here's where it gets really powerful. Commercial contracts are often for a year, sometimes more. So that one client isn't just a single $3,000 payment. Oh no. It's a $36,000 asset for your business over the course of the year. That is the power of recurring revenue. So here's the path, right? You land that first client, then you get another one paying $4,000 a month, and then maybe a third paying another $3,000. Just by stacking a few of these contracts together, you've built a predictable $10,000 a month revenue stream. Okay, so you've got the clients, the revenues coming in, but how do you manage all this growth? This is where a business plan becomes absolutely critical. And it's not just some paperwork you do for a loan. No, it's the blueprint, the map that turns your early hustle into a scalable, sustainable system. Your business blueprint just needs to cover these key areas. The executive summary, that's your why. Your market analysis helps you understand your playground. Services and pricing, that's your offer. Your marketing plan is the engine for growth. The operations plan is your daily playbook. And the financial plan, well, that's your scoreboard. It tells you if you're winning. And this brings us right back to that first question. 2 months from now, where do you want to be? I mean, really think about it. You can be in the exact same spot you are today, still wondering what if, or you could be depositing your first check, having proven to yourself once and for all that this was possible the whole time. The choice is yours. So you're thinking about launching an online business in 2026, right? Well, you're going to need a blueprint. We've taken advice from some of the smartest people in the business and boiled it down into a clear, no-fluff guide to get you started on the right foot. All right, let's dive right in. Your very first and maybe most important strategic decision comes down to this choice right here. According to expert Alex Hormozi, you have to pick a path. Are you going to go premium and sell something expensive to a small group of people, or are you going to go for the mass market? He's really clear that trying to live in that messy middle is where most new businesses just completely fall apart. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to walk through this whole journey, from that huge first decision all the way down to a concrete action plan. By the end of this, you'll have the whole framework. Okay, so let's really dig into that first big decision, going premium. Now, Hormozi makes this super powerful case that it's actually easier to start by selling something pricey to just a few people. I know, it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but the logic behind it is, well, it's pretty brilliant. Just think about Tesla's whole strategy. They didn't roll out the affordable car for everyone right away, did they? Nope. They started with the super exclusive $250,000 Roadster. The profits from that one high-end car were exactly what they needed to fund and build the Model 3 for the rest of us. The lesson here is pretty clear. Start high, and then you can scale down. And this quote just nails the point. So many founders get paralyzed because they think everything has to be scalable from day one. But doing something that doesn't scale, like selling your time for one-on-one coaching, that can be one of the absolute best ways to start. It gives you that immediate cash flow you desperately need to reinvest and grow everything else. Okay, so going premium is a great strategy, but it's totally useless if you don't have a profitable idea to back it up. So the question is, how do you find a product or a service that actually justifies a high price tag? The key is to think about building a business that's going to last, not just chasing some trend that's hot today and gone tomorrow. And this is where a concept from the folks at Creative Hive is a real game changer: the business moat. Literally, think of a castle with a deep, wide moat around it. That's your unique advantage. It's what protects you and stops competitors from just waltzing in, copying your idea, and forcing you into a price war that, let's be honest, you probably can't win. So before you get too attached to any idea, you have to run it through this simple 3-part sanity check. First, sustainability. Can you actually do this over and over without totally burning out? Second, longevity. Is this a flash in the pan, or is it something people will still want in a few years? And third, the big one, profitability. Do the numbers actually make sense? Because if you can't make a profit, you have a hobby, not a business. So, what's a real-world idea that passes this test and really fits that premium model? Well, entrepreneur Dan Martell points to something like AI content repurposing. Just think about it for a second. Every single business and creator out there is desperate for more content. A service that takes one long video and magically turns it into dozens of social media clips? You're solving a huge, expensive problem for them. And because you're solving such a high-value problem, the income potential is just massive. We're not talking about a few extra bucks here. We're talking up to $30,000 a month from just a handful of happy clients. Okay, here's another incredibly powerful idea: an AI lead generation agency. I mean, think about it. Businesses will always pay for things that directly bring them more customers, which means more money. It's one of the easiest value propositions in the world. And the potential here, it's even higher. The top agencies in this space are pulling in up to $80,000 a month. And the reason, as Dan Martell puts it, is that you're essentially trading dollars for more dollars. You give a client $10 in new revenue, and they will happily give you $1 back all day long. So you've got your premium idea. Awesome. Now we have to tackle what is probably the biggest hurdle for most founders: pricing. This is where so much of the psychology and, frankly, the confidence comes into play. The whole mindset shift you need to make starts right here with this quote. It's not about guessing what you think people might be willing to pay. It's about setting a price that makes the work valuable to you. Because if the price isn't worth your time, you're going to resent the work and you will burn out. Period. Hormozi also talks about this incredible psychological tool called price anchoring. So check this out. By showing someone a super high-ticket premium option first, let's say a $10,000 one-on-one package, all of a sudden, your standard $1,000 offer looks incredibly reasonable. It feels like a fantastic deal in comparison. Now, for a really concrete place to start, Creative Hive has this beautifully simple formula. First, just add up all your costs, your materials, your labor, everything. Got it? Okay, now double it. That's your wholesale price. Then double it again, and that's your retail price. This simple bit of math makes sure you have a healthy profit margin baked in from day one. All right, with your idea and your pricing locked in, it is time to execute. And a huge mistake people make is getting stuck trying to build a perfect website. You don't need perfect. You just need a functional launchpad, a bare bones minimum viable store that can start making you money today. And Creative Hive makes this absolutely brilliant distinction. Building your business on a marketplace like Etsy, well, that's like renting an apartment. Your landlord can change the rules, they can raise the rent, they can even kick you out. But building on your own domain with something like Shopify, that means you're building an asset that you actually own and control. It's your land. Now, what's really cool about this slide is just how simple it is. Seriously, forget the blog, forget the fancy about page, forget spending a ton on a theme. You only need to focus on the 20% of things that will get you 80% of your sales. A clean way for people to see what you're selling and a dead simple way for them to give you their money. That's it. All right, let's bring it all home. This isn't just a random collection of tips, it's a strategic sequence. We're going to lay out a simple, step-by-step action plan to take you from just having an idea to actually launching your business. Here it is, your 4-step roadmap, and you have to follow these steps in order. First, commit to that premium strategy. Second, vet your idea with that 3-part test. Third, set your price so you're actually profitable. And fourth, launch fast with a simple store. Following this sequence puts all the foundational pieces in the right place for a business that's truly built to last. So we've laid out the expert strategy and the tactics you need to execute it. The only question left is the one you see on your screen right now. You have the blueprint. What's the very first thing you're going to build?
Hello and welcome. So, you're thinking of starting a business in 2026? Look, you're going to need more than just a good idea. Today, we're pulling together a proper blueprint for success, combining the absolute core strategies from 3 of the sharpest minds in the game. Right then, let's dive in.
If you've got that entrepreneurial itch, that little spark, then honestly, now is the perfect time to start planning your next big move. But with all the noise out there, all the conflicting advice, the biggest question is always, where on earth do you even begin?
We begin right here with us. We've gone ahead and boiled down the essential strategies from Creative Hive, Alex Hormozy, and Dan Martell into one single actionable roadmap. Think of this as your guide from that first flicker of an idea all the way to launch day.
Okay, Act 1. Every single great business, the kind that actually lasts, is built on a rock-solid foundation. And for this part, we're looking at the 4 pillars that Creative Hive says you absolutely must get right in your first 30 days.
Forget those 100-page business plans for a moment. According to Creative Hive, these 4 things are the only things that really matter in that first month. Why? Well, think about it. A durable product means you're building a real brand, not just chasing a fad. A memorable name means people can actually find you again without you spending a fortune on ads. Getting the pricing right means you're a profitable owner, not just a busy fool. And a simple store, it just gets you selling and learning from real customers fast. You nail these 4 and you've built yourself a brilliant launchpad.
And that brings us to this absolutely crucial concept of a moat. In a market that's more crowded than ever, you have to ask yourself, why would someone choose me over hundreds of others? Your moat is the answer. It could be a unique skill you have, a special material, a totally distinctive design, whatever it is. Without it, you're just competing on price. And trust me, that is a race to the bottom you do not want to win.
And speaking of price, this is where so many new founders shoot themselves in the foot by charging way too little. So Creative Hive gives us this fantastic little formula to start with. You just take your total costs, you double it to get your wholesale price, and then you double that again for retail. Simple, right? But it ensures you're actually building a profitable business from day one.
Now, that formula is a brilliant start. It really is. But our next expert is going to challenge us to stop thinking in these small, safe steps and start thinking exponentially. What if you didn't just double your price? What if you just added a 0 to the end of it? Which brings us to Act 2, and this is where it gets really interesting. We're going to look at a completely contrarian strategy from the one and only Alex Hormozy. He basically reframes the entire idea of price, turning everything you thought you knew on its head.
So here's the big idea. Stop. Just stop. Pricing based on what it costs you. It's not about your expenses. Instead, you need to start pricing based on the immense value you provide and the massive, painful problem you solve for a customer. This single shift moves you from scrapping for pennies serving the masses to working with a select few for incredibly high margins.
And here's the core of his argument. I know it sounds completely backwards, right? But he argues that starting with a premium, super high-ticket offer is one of the fastest ways to generate serious cash. It lets you learn from your best clients and pour all that money back into growing the business.
And the strategic advantages are just brilliant when you think about it. Just one client can fund your growth for months while giving you priceless feedback. That high price tag also acts as an anchor, making all of your other products seem like an absolute bargain. And most importantly, it gives you the capital, the war chest, to go on the attack.
The maths here is just, it's staggering. Hormozy points out that if only 10% of your customers, that's just 1 in every 10, buys your premium offer, you can potentially triple your business's total profit. That is the incredible power of just adding that 0.
Right then. So, we've got a solid foundation and we've got a killer pricing strategy. The final piece of this puzzle is figuring out where the biggest opportunities are hiding right now. Where should you point this brand new business engine of yours?
For that, we turn to Dan Martell, who doesn't mess about, he cuts straight to the chase. The future, he argues, is in combining this high-value approach we've just talked about with the revolutionary power of AI. The strategy is wonderfully simple. Find a growing market, identify the expensive problems that high-income buyers are desperate to solve, and then use AI as the tool to solve them.
And he's not just talking theory, he gives us a target list. Here are 5 high-value AI service businesses you could literally start planning today. Now notice a theme here. They all solve expensive, painful problems for businesses that have deep pockets. Everything from automation and lead gen to the absolutely critical needs of cybersecurity and compliance. And if you're wondering about the scale of this opportunity, just have a look at this. The market for just one of those ideas, AI automation, is projected to more than triple by 2032. It's soaring towards $250 billion. You want to be riding that massive wave, not getting crushed by it.
So let's bring this all home. We've covered the foundation from Creative Hive, the high-value strategy from Alex Hormozy, and the AI opportunity from Dan Martell. So the big question is, what do you actually need to do next?
Okay, here it is, your 3-point action plan. Number 1, figure out your moat. What is your unique, unfair advantage? Number 2,
Brainstorm a premium 10x version of what you sell. Don't even worry if anyone buys it yet. The act of creating it changes everything. And number 3, start researching one of those AI services that solves a real, expensive problem for people with money. So there you have it. The strategies are laid out, the market is crystal clear, and the opportunity is, well, it's absolutely massive. We've given you the blueprint. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it?
Have you ever felt like you're just not good with money? Like there's some secret club that you're just not a part of? Well, today, we're going to break down a clear, actionable plan for a full financial reset. And listen, this isn't about some secret formula or complicated trick. It's about a simple, powerful system that's designed to build real, lasting wealth. So let's get right into it.
Author Morgan Housel really puts it bluntly here. He argues that the biggest barrier to wealth isn't a lack of smarts. It's just not having a clear plan and not having the right mindset. The truth is, most of us are just unaware of our own financial habits and what's really possible.
So how do we fix this? Well, it all starts with a simple shift in how you think, followed by just a few powerful practical steps. We're going to walk through that exact blueprint, combining the psychology of money with a no-nonsense plan of action.
Okay, first things first. Before we even peek at a bank statement, we have to completely redefine what we're even aiming for. Because the real goal, it's not what you see on social media. It is something so much more valuable.
This slide really gets to a crucial distinction. On the left, you've got rich. That's about a high income and things you can see. You know, the nice car, the big house. But over on the right, you have wealthy, and that is totally different. Wealth is the money you don't spend. It's the assets that are quietly working for you in the background, buying you the one thing money can actually buy: freedom.
And this quote right here, this gets to the absolute heart of it. The real goal of building wealth isn't to impress your neighbors. It's to gain control over your own time. It's about independence. Money just becomes a tool for a better life, not some yardstick you use to measure yourself against other people.
And ultimately, the real prize here is contentment. It's that feeling of having enough. It's that point where your money serves your life instead of your life serving your money. This mindset right here is the foundation for everything else we're about to talk about. Okay, so with that new mindset locked in, we can move to our first practical step. It is time to take a clear, totally non-judgmental look at your financial reality. I want you to think of this as just a simple x-ray of your money habits.
Financial educator Nishra calls this a money wrapped, and I love that. Just like Spotify shows you your listening habits at the end of the year, this is just a snapshot of your spending habits. The whole idea is to make this an exercise in curiosity, not criticism.
And all you have to do is answer 3 pretty simple questions. First, what came in? Second, what went out? And here's a little pro tip. Treat your savings and your investments as an expense. Why? Because that way, your surplus at the end shows you what's truly left over, money that can be put to even better use.
Now remember, this is not about feeling guilty about that extra coffee or that impulse buy. It's all about spotting patterns. Maybe you spend more in the summer on travel or more in the winter on online shopping. That awareness is what empowers you to make conscious choices from now on.
All right, now that you know where your money's been going, the next step is to build a solid foundation of security. This is what we'll call your financial fortress. It's the safety net that protects you from all of life's inevitable surprises.
And the need for this is, well, it's urgent. According to data Humphrey Yang shared, a majority of people can't even cover a small $1,000 unexpected expense. Think about that. This isn't just a number. It's a measure of just how financially fragile many of us are. Building a safety net changes all that.
The key is to follow this blueprint exactly in order. First, just focus on a manageable $1,000 starter fund. That's a huge psychological win. Then, you grow that to cover 3 to 6 months of expenses. Only once that fund is solid should you aggressively start attacking that high-interest debt.
This quote, wow, it just reframes everything, doesn't it? Debt isn't just a number on a statement. It's a claim on your future time, your future freedom. Paying it down is literally you buying back your own future.
So with your fortress in place, it is time to build a system that grows your wealth for you. A money machine that works in the background, making good decisions the default, not the exception.
Yeah, we're talking about a money operating system. The goal here is to set things up just once so that your money quietly does its job while you get on with living your life. It's all about making progress without having to rely on constant effort or willpower.
And this flow shows you just how simple this system is. When your paycheck hits your account, boom, an automatic transfer immediately sends a chunk of it to your savings and investments. You pay your future self first, and then you're totally free to spend whatever is left over.
This one small change, saving first and spending what's left, will honestly do more for your long-term finances than any complicated budgeting app out there. Saving becomes a mandatory expense, just like your rent or your groceries. It is non-negotiable.
Okay, so you've redefined wealth, you've built your fortress, and you've created a money machine. Now for the final piece of the puzzle. The simple, incredibly powerful secret that turns small, consistent actions into life-changing wealth. Get a load of this number. It reveals a really surprising truth about the world's most famous investor. His incredible success wasn't because he got astronomical returns year after year. The real magic ingredient was just time. His entire fortune is basically a testament to the power of compounding over decades and decades.
And the engine behind all this growth is compound interest. It's a really simple idea. Your money makes money, and then the money that your money made starts making its own money. It creates this snowball effect that just gets more and more powerful over time.
And this chart really makes that idea tangible. I mean, just look at the difference between year 10 and year 30. The growth isn't a straight line, it's exponential. It curves upwards, and the most dramatic gains happen in those later years, which is exactly why starting early and just staying patient is so incredibly important.
And that brings us to maybe the most important takeaway of all. Success in investing doesn't require being a genius or picking the next big thing. It just requires being average for an above-average period of time. It's all about patience and discipline, not brilliance.
And really, that's the financial reset. It's a shift from you working for your money to finally having your money start working for you. It all starts with your mindset, and it's powered by a simple, automated system. So the only question left is, what could that future look like for you?
Have you ever just felt like you're not a money person? You know, like you're missing some secret formula that everyone else seems to get? Well, what if I told you that being good with money has almost nothing to do with how clever you are at maths and everything to do with psychology? In this quote from Morgan Housel, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? The real battle isn't about earning more. It's about wanting less. It's about that little voice in your head that's always pushing you, whispering that you need just a bit more. That goalpost is always shifting further away. So let's just ask it straight out. Do you have to be some kind of Wall Street wizard to sort out your finances? The answer is a massive, resounding no. Honestly, some of the smartest, most educated people out there make the absolute worst decisions with their money. The change we need to make is actually much simpler, and it all happens right between our ears. Right, so why is it that so many of us find this stuff so tricky? Well, it turns out the real problem isn't about the numbers in our bank accounts. It's about the sneaky psychological traps that we all fall into, day in and day out. And here it is. This is probably the biggest trap of the modern age, the comparison treadmill. See, we used to just compare ourselves to our neighbors, but now with social media, we're comparing our normal everyday lives to the perfectly polished, algorithm-fed highlight reels of literally millions of other people. It's a game you just can't win, and it's designed to make you feel like you're constantly behind. And this is such a brilliant way to think about it. Happiness is just the gap between your expectations and your reality. If your reality is right here, but your expectations are way up there, well, that gap is where misery and anxiety live. And that comparison treadmill just keeps making the gap wider and wider. Okay, so how do we start to close that gap? Well, it all begins with getting brutally honest about your own reality. It's time to take a proper snapshot of where you are right now, and this is key, with absolutely no judgment. I absolutely love this phrase from the financial educator Nisha. Think of this like your Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year. This isn't about beating yourself up over that expensive dinner or those trainers you bought. Not at all. It is purely a data gathering exercise, a simple, objective look at where your money has been going. And it's actually a lot simpler than it sounds. Step 1, just pull up your bank and credit card statements for the last 3 months. Step 2, sort everything into a few simple piles. You know, the essentials, the fun stuff, and any debt payments. And finally, step 3, do the simple maths. What was actually left at the end of it all? That number, that's your real starting line. And when you lay it all out like this, it can be a huge aha moment. It's amazing, isn't it? You suddenly see how much those little daily coffees or those forgotten subscriptions are actually costing you. And remember, the point of this isn't to feel guilty. It's just to be aware. Knowledge is power after all. All right, now for what I think is the single most important mindset shift in all of this. We have to completely redefine what we're aiming for. Because the real goal, the true prize, it's probably not what you think it is. And here is the difference. Being rich is loud, it's visible, it's the fast car, the big watch, the fancy holidays you post online. It's all about spending money to show other people you have it. But being wealthy, that's quiet. It's silent. It's the money you haven't spent. It's the assets you own that are working for you in the background. And what that buys you is freedom, independence, control over your own time. That right there is the ultimate goal. Now, let's just ground this in a bit of reality for a second. $7,923. That is the average amount of credit card debt for a single person in America. It's a sobering number, and it represents the absolute opposite of wealth. And this quote, wow, it just nails it. Debt isn't just some number on a statement. It's a claim that someone else has on your future work, your future energy, your future freedom. You are literally selling off pieces of your own independence. When you think of it like that, it changes everything. So we've got the mindset sorted. We know the goal is wealth and freedom. How do we actually start moving towards it? Well, the next step is to build a system, a machine, really, that works for you automatically, so you barely have to think about it. This right here is the absolute cornerstone of building wealth. It sounds so simple, but it completely flips the script. Most people spend their money and then try to save whatever is left over. This is the opposite. You save and invest first, and then you're free to spend what's left. You are prioritizing your future self before anyone else gets a look in. And this is what it looks like in practice. The second your paycheck hits your account, an automated transfer whisks a chunk of it away to your savings and investment accounts. It's brilliant. It's gone before you can even touch it. Out of sight, out of mind. Then the money that's left in your current account, that's what you have for your bills and your spending. It takes willpower completely out of the equation. So here's your action plan. This is how you make good decisions the default. Get yourself a high-yield savings account so your cash is actually earning something. Set up those automatic transfers for payday. Automate your bill payments so you never get hit with a late fee again. Set up a regular, automatic investment into something simple, like a low-cost index fund. And here's a big one. Go and unsubscribe from every single tempting retail email in your inbox. Cut off the temptation at the source. And if you're wondering why you should bother with all that automation, just look at these numbers. This is the magic we're talking about. It's not about being a stock-picking genius. It's about being consistent. It's the slow, steady, quiet power of compound interest doing its thing year after year after year. Small bits of money over a long time turning into a truly life-changing amount. Okay, so we've covered the mindset, we've covered the mechanics, but it all comes back to one final, very personal question that you have to answer for yourself. Because at the end of the day, the real finish line isn't a number in your bank account. It's a feeling. It's the feeling of having enough. It's that deep sense of contentment with what you have, instead of that constant nagging feeling that you need more. That is what real